counties. So we both, within a week of each other, graduated from different service academies, the Naval Academy, the Air Force Academy. We've been rivals. We've parted.
And of course, it's almost like being in the real military.
All right. I kind of agree with him. And we have it pretty good. But that was a while ago. We retired from the military, and we parted our separate ways. You know, we're always going to be brothers. We parted our separate ways. I live in Washington State. Circumstance, my dad getting sicker over the years, prompted these two to leave their beautiful life in Florida, come back to Atwood. And it's been an absolute blessing. They are actually, I don't want to use this word, a powerhouse there. I mean, as far as what they do for the community, they bought a coffee shop. They work in their church. They mentor. It's amazing. And then so when this Norton thing came up, right here, back to Monty. Monty, you know, I think Jay, you said it. Monty's been a mentor, he's been a coach, and a friend. In his 9 months I've known him. It's amazing. And then I've gotten to know some of you, some of the rest of you, and wow, the Innovation Center, it's for real. What I told Scott, really quickly, earlier, I wasn't going to say this, but you know, something Kyle said earlier. He said, yeah, it seemed like a scam. I knew better, but when I took this back to the city I lived in Washington State, I told them about this opportunity, the Innovation Center, and they said, you are naive. My family said, you are naive. And that was a reason I said we need to go forward, because if it's that good where people think that this institution is that good that it can't be, I said, this has got to be an opportunity. So it drove us forward. Talking about succession really quick, I have 2 quick points here. Succession. We need to start working on that. Monty talks about that word. I just want to say full circle. So my dad passed away a couple years ago. Well, a year and a half ago. Our newest employee coming in, and it's neat, again, Kyle, who we talked about earlier, about information technology. Well, as we develop, we need to bring in more and more sensitive projects for the Department of Defense, the like. And so it's very important that we strengthen that part of it. So we're bringing in a brilliant young man. Let me go back to about 3 decades ago. My dad performed life-saving surgery. It was a delivery. Mother and son almost died. My dad saved their lives. We're bringing in this young man. He came to us. He wants to work for us. So April 1, Simon Meachek will be working with us. Succession. Yes, we need to start thinking about that. And by the way, we need to think about a lot more. We have plans to grow. We have assembled this crazy, amazing team, you know, under the watchful eye of Monty. And we're going to be needing to talk about money, succession, all this. I'm not going to go into all the vision, but I think it's going to be amazing. You know?
Tell them what your day job is.
Okay, one thing all right.
This fella calls me when he's about ready to fly out of an airport.
Okay, I fly out. Okay, so aviation is in our blood. I fly a 787 all over the world, but engineering. I mean, my life is second to the qualifications of these two. So, but yes, aviation. Miltech is an aerospace. Well, we do a lot of aerospace work. We are what's called AS 9100 Aerospace 9100 certified. So a lot of those things, high-end fighters, we build parts for them. So thanks for bringing that up. I want to just end it with this. We're going to drive home tonight, crack open a beer, talk about this.
I'm going to need some scotch.
But guys, we're going to drive from Colby, you know, our last 30 minutes, we're going to drive from Colby to Atwood. There's a sign you drive through, sounds kind of corny, any city folk would say, and big city, I'm going to go back to Washington. It says, Atwood, Kansas, where people care. Kind of corny, right? Well, wow. You know, you could say that for this whole Northwest region of these 26 counties. You know what? You could say Innovation Center, where people care. You guys are a secret weapon, and I thank you so much. We've been blessed. So, how's that for a long answer to a quick question?
Well, you know, I did want to wrestle down the microphone there. Those two can duke it out. But one of the things, you know, that we're parsing things out, and mine was, you know, what would you say to people who are looking to work with the Innovation Center? You know, and I was thinking about that. It's like, what does it take? What has it taken for us to get this business off the ground, to get into where we're at? And 3 words kind of came to mind, and they were vision, unity, and courage. And the vision that we're talking about is the vision to see things that aren't there yet. We see what's there, and sometimes in Northwest Kansas, if you're just looking at what's there, it can be pretty bleak. There can be a lot of nothing for miles out here. But when you start to look at what can be there, and what people have held on to out here, and the community and the strength that is present, and the potential to build, there's a lot more than meets the eye. And then that unity, especially working with the Innovation Center, is to share the vision of what can be there with you guys. That's so important. So when we started talking about this, it's one thing if we're gonna like put the financials on the line and put our personal lives on the line and the time and the effort, but when we say, what are we really working towards? And when we're working towards building that community up, that's the shared vision that we have had with the Innovation Center, where it's not just about building a business. It's about supporting, it was at that time the 14 employees who were still there, you know, supporting their family, making sure that they had a place to go to work and a place to hold their head up, building something great in Northwest Kansas, because we know it can be amazing here. A lot of people have never done more than fly over here, and you know, it's only when you get the boots on the ground, to use a military term, that you can actually see the quality of the people here. And the greatest resource that we have is that nobody here is jumping up to stand in your way. You know, the least they'll do is kind of say, okay, well, go with it. That's your problem. And that's okay, because we try to build a business elsewhere, bigger cities, more people to jump up and say, no, sorry, have you cut this red tape yet? You know? So when we're looking at that vision, that unity of like what we want for the community here, what we want to build here. So to work with the Innovation Center to internalize those values of not just what are we going to get out of this on the bottom line, what are we going to sell this business for, but having a succession plan, having a building plan that is not limited by, okay, what we have in the bank account right now. It can be very small, but when we have that vision to say, what can we do with the people who are here? That can be very big. And when we can say, what can we do to serve those people and to continue serving after we bow out, because it can be exhausting. So we can bring all of that to the table, and then when the Innovation Center comes and meets us at that table, then we can make a meal. We can make this happen. So that's what I would say. First, make sure that you have the real vision, that it's not just a short-term get rich quick, but a real drive to support and sustain the value, the quality of life here in Northwest Kansas, because these communities matter. And that has been the biggest thing that we've learned since moving back in 2021 is, you know, the people who stayed, like so many counties, they've just been bleeding for decades. People who stayed have real grit. They have real value. And they don't give up. And so to come in and support that and build it and draw on that strength is basically what I would say. That's what the Innovation Center does. Be ready to do that. And if you want to work with people with grit, you better have it. So that's what I have to say about that.
Awesome, awesome. we had something kind of cool come out of all of this besides what you've heard. This is what's happening. So just recently, the business that Ross Manufacturing could not perform on because they had equipment problem was who? Who was the business?
Oh, yeah, we made some stuff for them, a couple different things, a bunch of parts for SurePoint Ag, which is actually started by a bunch of schoolmates of ours. And then because of that, we entered into another contract to build some prototype parts for them. It's just amazing.
So the cool thing that happened just recently, so Ross Manufacturing reached out to them, which is in St. Francis. They tell them about the Innovation Center. So pretty soon I'm up there working with them on, they're 3 generations. They're not looking for money. They're needing help for planning, for growth. And so we have this company, which is in Norton, working with Ross Manufacturing, that's working with the company that's producing what? Ties to John Deere, correct?
Well, yeah, SurePoint is like a $200 million a year precision agricultural application technology company, and they're right there in Atwood, and they just put in like a 1 million square foot facility north of town. And now all 3 of us in this 3 concurrent county, or well, actually Decatur's kind of in between there, but we're all working together now. And I think the synergism of this could be astounding. We'll have to see.
Well, we have a plan. We have a plan. No, this is an exciting thing. So Ross Manufacturing, sit down with them, so they need this group, you need them. And now all of a sudden, what's the missing link? The CPA, and Josh is the CPA. We have Ross Manufacturing, been around for 3 generations, since 1978, struggling with an accountant that understands manufacturing accounting. It's not easy, but we'll turn it over to Josh now. Josh, we're gonna let you answer the questions and you throw in your part.
I first became involved with the Innovation Center with Monty. I've known him for 20 years or so. He's involved with my in-laws a lot, and so through that connection and helping him get involved with a couple banks. Throughout that time, we just developed a relationship, and it became more involved in the last couple years with nonprofit Knights of Columbus, and then now some entities that needed hands-on CPA help, not just an accountant to do their tax return or do their payroll, but they needed somebody that would be able to sit down with them and go through their books and explain the processes and what a profit and loss looks like, what it should look like, and how to get there. But yeah, that's how I became involved. As Monty contacted me, and I said sure. It's just expanded to quite a few different entities now.
And Josh knows that when Monty calls, there's not going to be an easy answer.
Or a short phone call. How important it is for clients to be connected with appropriate services such as their banks and the accountant. I think it's huge. Whether it's startup business, understanding the actual business itself and the financial aspect of progressing, or if it's growth, if they're in the growth stage of their business and they're trying to get bigger, but they don't have the current capacity to do that. Or in the end, the succession plan. So a lot of times, businesses are just trying to do what they can to get the work done and move on to the next project. Well, they don't look at the big picture of income tax or tax planning or the exit strategy when you go to sell. Well, if you sell straight out, a lot of times there's going to be a lot of capital gains if we own this business for a long time. So being connected with your accountant and have a relationship communicating consistently helps that planning to where you can actually build it up and minimize the tax implications that exit strategy, or during growth or booming when the business is really doing well, able to do some tax planning and stuff like that. So that's where being connected with your bank to expand, needing the funds to expand, or the innovation center in that aspect is very important.
And Josh and I have worked together on some succession plans that we aren't afraid to tell the person wanting to sell that, you know what, this isn't gonna work for the buyer. And we've got one right now, sizable. 1981, the business started, and people fail to realize that when they started in 1981, they started on a shoestring probably, and now it's worth millions. And they have to remember that these assets might be worth millions, but the bottom line will not support paying the millions back. And so we have to figure out how to get this back to reality. And we got 5 minutes, okay?
Great, but still.
But anyway, no, Josh and I have worked together a long time on things, and really appreciating. And so together, if we're trying to make everybody be a success story, it takes all of us in on this. So thank you, sir. Appreciate it. See you later. So Michelle had handed out an application that is in a PDF fillable form that's on our website. I think why I wanted all of you to see it is number one, before we start having to fill it out, I like to hear a few things, because I'm not one of these to say, fill out the application and come talk to us. Because if it doesn't fit us, then there's no sense putting you through it. And I learned a long time ago that if you want to keep people happy, you keep the process rolling. So that application is for you to see. There's nothing new that wouldn't be. What we do is I coach our applicants on what I want to see to come to loan committee in a narrative form. I'm a guy that's accumulated a lot of quotes over time, put them in my phone, and I found one that I thought fit today. People don't care how much we know until they know how much we care. So people don't care how much we know until they know how much we care. And I think in lending, when I first got out of college and was dealing with people, I could see there was all types of lenders. Some of them were cold fish, and that's one I didn't want to be. And had some neat opportunities. And when I look at Hayes, and Jaden sees this, and I'm sure others in this room, but I like to go back and look at what I learned from loan customers. And there's one that will stand out forever. And if any of you are familiar with Size-Wise Rentals and Wheelchairs of Kansas that sold a handful of years ago, and what's the name of it now? What's the name of it? Agility. That company, I love that story. And Lee Fricke was one of these guys that came into Monte Keller. He was from Oberlin, Kansas, and Oberlin wasn't going to listen to him at the time. He bought a patent, came to me, said, Monty, I hear you're the SBA lender. I was a whole 30 years old. And he came, you remember the dot matrix printers, that had the continuous feed paper and looked like a Bible when he came in with it. But their story is so unbelievable. They became the largest employer in Ellis County, one of the largest, and across the world, and sold for dollars. And he taught me something, that banker, borrower, accountant relationship. That's what I learned from Lee. So anyway, thank you for being here.
Thank you all the participants that participated in that section. I think it's